It was 1884. There was a 7-year-old little girl named Hattie Mae. And she really wanted to go to Sunday school. And finally she did. She got to Sunday school, and she walked into the class, and about a minute later, she's running down the hall, and she's crying. And one of the other teachers sees her and grabs her and says, "Oh, what's wrong, little girl?" And she's crying because the teacher in the Sunday school class said, "There's no more room in this class for you," and asked her to leave. And it broke her heart. So the teacher picked her up, walked her back to class, and found a place for her. And then when the teacher left, she said, "I hope next time we have a bigger Sunday school class." So all the little girls who want to go to Sunday school can go to Sunday school. Well, very sadly, a few weeks later, Hattie got ill. She got diphtheria, and she died. She passed away. About a week later, there was a funeral, and at the funeral, her father came up to the teacher that had guided Hattie back to class, and he said, "I found this in her room." It was a purse, and in that purse, Hattie had been collecting pennies. She had collected 57 pennies. And she had told her father that those 57 pennies were to help the church begin to buy more Sunday school room, to build a new building with more Sunday school room. It was a true story. So they took this 57 cents and they went to the trustees of the church and they told them the story. The trustees were really touched by this. A building program had not been on their radar, but after this, they decided that, well, maybe we really do need to begin a building program. And so they talked to a gentleman who had a piece of land down on Broad Street in central Philadelphia. And they told the man the story. He said, "I'm not a church-going guy." He didn't care about that, but he was really touched by this little girl's determination. And he sold them that piece of land for a very low mortgage and a down payment of 57 cents. They built a bigger church on that piece of land, a Baptist church, and they called it the Temple. And the Temple today is now Temple University in Philadelphia. From that little 57 cents came a great university with a great basketball team of 35,000, 40,000 students. It began with the purchase of that land, which began inspired by this little girl. God can do great things from little things. He can solve big problems with just the smallest of resources. And we see that today as he took the loaves and the fishes and solved the problem of how do you feed all these people. Because they had a problem. There were 5,000 men they account for, which means there were maybe 5, 10, 15,000 additional people out there in the wilderness without food. Hopefully they had some water. But do you know that people that are gathered for a long period of time can become kind of a grumpy, dangerous mob? And so they were worried about this. So they turned to their leader. They say, "Jesus, what do we do?" And he said, "Well, feed them." Well, now they have a real problem. They don't have any food. They have enough for a couple bites for a few people. They have nowhere near enough. They have no practical solution to this. They have no way to solve this problem for these guys. So what happens? Jesus solves the problem. He turns 5 loaves and 2 fish into enough to feed thousands of people. And that must have been a remarkable event. I can imagine they're handing out loaf 1, here's another, here's 3, here's 4, here's 5, here's 6, here's 7, here's 8, here's 9. How many loaves did they have to have? But enough that everybody was satisfied. It's one of those remarkable things. God solving big problems with little resources. Now, what is this story about? Because Matthew tells it, and the other gospel writers tell us as well. So it must be an important story. What are they trying to say here? Is this one of those, we need to trust God, and here's an example? Is it maybe God revealing himself in miracles? I talked about earlier how I didn't really buy that for a long time. Is God revealing himself as really and truly a God? Is it about how God takes actions to serve his people in their needs? Well, yes, it is. Is it about trusting God? In our small catechism, which is our book of teachings, kind of gives an overview of the whole Lutheran faith. The very first commandment says we are to call upon God in fear and love and trust above all things. The first commandment is about trusting God. We shall have no God before him. And we should trust him. And we should trust him. And more importantly, we should trust him because we can trust him. He is a God who we can believe keeps his promises and cares about the things that are important to us. So we can trust him. Is it about God revealing himself? Well, yeah, it sure is. God tends to work through natural processes. We don't see, big bolts of lightning or big green heads that says, I am the Wizard of Oz here. We see God work through natural processes. Except sometimes he doesn't, because he is superior to natural processes. He is super to natural processes. He is super over natural processes. He is supernatural. He is outside the natural, and sometimes he does behave that way. Not always, but he does. And that can be a time that bring people who kind of are having some doubts, and give them some assurance about this God really is bigger than I thought he was. Is it an example of him acting? Well, absolutely. It is an example of him acting for his people in their need. Now, all those things are true about what happened here in the wilderness. But there's more. Before this amazing thing, God says something that I want to focus on. Because he uses these words that are critical. Speaking of the loaves and fishes, he says, bring them here to me. And then he says a blessing. God calls us to bring us his offering, our offerings. He calls us to bring his offering, our offerings, and then he uses them to the purposes that he has for them. He may take this tiny amount of food and turn it into a feast for thousands. He may take 57 pennies and turn it into an enormous university. He may take that moment that you have in your day, that you're busy, you're distracted, but somebody needs care and somebody needs to talk to you. And you take the time to minister to them in just maybe a minute or two. He may take that and change their life with it. He may take something that you do that's mundane, like balance your checkbook, or install TVs, or water the grass. And he may turn that into a ministry that affects people, affects churches, affects an entire community. He says, bring me your stuff. And then he goes to work. And amazing things happen. And a number of you have experienced that. You have brought your tithes and offering and seen him act on them, or maybe brought you into that ministry and acted on you. He wants those good things in our life. He wants our time and our talents and our treasures. And he does good things with those. But you know what? There is more. Because he wants more than just our time, our treasures, and our talents. He wants our pain and our problems and our predicaments too. He wants offerings that are all of us. Sometimes the dirty, unattractive offerings, he does more with than the sweet ones. Are you sick? Bring your illness to Jesus. And what's he going to do with it? Maybe he'll connect with medical people that you talk to. Maybe you'll have conversations you would have not had. Maybe you will be in circles that he begins to work through you to make changes in lives of people that wouldn't have been changed if you weren't sick. Are you in a broken relationship that you messed up? Or are you in a broken relationship that somebody else messed up and now there's pain, there's anger, there's hurt, there's resentment, there's shame? Offer that broken relationship to Jesus and see what he does to repair and to build and to grow. Do you worry about money? Do you worry about job concerns? Do you worry about family issues? Do you maybe have 10,000 people coming to your house to eat and you don't have enough food in the refrigerator? He seems to be able to solve those types of problems. But he calls on us to bring us our time, our talents, and our treasures, as well as our pain, our problems, and our predicaments. He wants it all. So let him have it. Let him bless it. And let him show you how he's going to work through that. Because God does big things from little things. And what do you have? You have something he wants. He wants you. He wants all of you. Give him what he wants. And see him go to work. And see the important things that happen. May the peace that passes all understanding guard your hearts and your minds in Jesus. And may you see him at work.